It is Saturday morning, the day before Palm Sunday. And let's have Saturday morning cartoons. And for Saturday morning cartoons this morning, on the day before Palm Sunday, let's talk about Satan. Let's talk about the Satanic Panic. Let's talk about serial killers. Actually, it's kind of a serious subject. But as this is Saturday morning cartoons, we'll look at it in another dimension. But first of all, what is the Satanic Panic? Now, many of you, hopefully many of you, are too young to remember the various satanic panics that have swept the world periodically. I guess in America, beginning with the Salem witch trials, okay? But briefly, this is just what Wikipedia says about the Satanic Panic, the one I'm referring to. The Satanic Panic is a moral panic consisting of over 12,000 unsubstantiated cases of satanic ritual abuse, SRA, sometimes known as ritual abuse, ritualistic abuse, organized abuse, or sadistic ritual abuse, starting in the United States in the 1980s, spreading throughout many parts of the world by the late 1990s, and persisting today. Now, I'm going to pause and digress and say you can imagine what that meant in relationship to non-Christian occult organizations trying to get going that were being very popular all around the world at that time, too. It was a pain in the ass, I tell you, but I digress. The panic originated in 1980 with the publication of Michelle Remembers, a book co-written by Canadian psychiatrist Lawrence Pazdir and his patient and future wife, Michelle Smith, which used the discredited practice of recovered memory therapy to make sweeping, lurid claims about satanic ritual abuse involving Smith. The allegations, which arose afterward throughout much of the United States, involved reports of physical and sexual abuse of people in the context of occult or satanic rituals. In its most extreme form, allegations involve a conspiracy of global satanic cult that includes the wealthy. That would tip you off right there, okay? Wealthy and elite, in which children are abducted or bred for human sacrifice, pornography, and prostitution. Nearly every aspect of the ritual abuse is controversial. This is Wikipedia now, including its definition, the source of the allegations and proof thereof, testimonies of alleged victims, and court cases involving the allegations and criminal investigations. All of that is controversial, they say. The panic affected lawyers, therapists, and social workers who handled allegations of child sexual abuse. Allegations initially brought together widely dissimilar groups, including religious fundamentalists, police investigators, child advocates, therapists, and clients in psychotherapy. The term satanic abuse was more common early on. This later became satanic ritual abuse and further secularized into simply ritual abuse. Over time, the accusations became more closely associated with dissociative identity disorder, then called multiple personality disorder, and anti-government conspiracy theories. Initial interest arose via the publicity campaign of Pazdir's 1980 book, Michelle Remembers, and it was sustained and popularized throughout the decade by the coverage of the McMartin preschool trial. Testimonials, symptoms list, rumors, and techniques to investigate or uncover memories of SRA were disseminated through professional, popular, and religious conferences, as well as through talk shows, sustaining and further spreading the moral panic throughout the United States and beyond. In some cases, allegations resulted in criminal trials with varying results. After 7 years in court, the McMartin trial resulted in no convictions for any of the accused, while the other cases resulted in lengthy sentences, some of which were later reversed. Scholarly interest in the topic slowly built, eventually resulting in the conclusion that the phenomena was a moral panic, which, as one researcher put it in 2017, quote, involved hundreds of accusations that devil-worshipping pedophiles were operating America's white middle-class suburban daycare centers. The 1994 book claims that, quote, of the more than 12,000 documented accusations nationwide, investigating police were not able to substantiate any allegations of organized cult abuse. That's what I mean by the satanic panic. Now, a few years back, there was a series of serial killings in Kansas, which lasted decades. Okay, that he took a rest for a while. Okay, they finally arrested the individual. His name was Dennis Lynn Rader, born March 9th, 1945, is an American serial killer known as the BTK. It's an abbreviation that he gave himself for bind, torture, and kill. Did I say this is Saturday morning cartoons? The BTK Strangler, or the BTK Killer. Between 1974 and 1991, he killed 10 people in Wichita and Park City, Kansas, and sent taunting letters to police and media outlets describing the details of his crimes. After a decade-long hiatus, Rader resumed sending letters in 2004, leading to his 2005 arrest and subsequent guilty plea. He's currently serving 10 consecutive life sentences at the El Dorado Correction Facility. In May 1991, Dennis Rader became a dog catcher and a compliance officer in Park City. In this position, neighbors recalled him as being sometimes overzealous and extremely strict, as well as taking special pleasure in bullying and harassing single women. One neighbor complained that Rader killed her dog for no reason. Rader was a member of the Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita and had been elected president of the church council. He was also a Cub Scout leader. Lutheran Council President binds, tortures, and kills, confesses. Wichita, Kansas, AP. Police say they are confident that the arrest of a man suspected of being the BTK serial killer will end 30 years of fear. Dennis L. Rader, identified by authorities as a Lutheran and a Cub Scout leader, was arrested Friday and allegedly confessed to 6 of the infamous bind, torture, kill murders that have terrorized this Kansas community since 1974. A source close to the investigation told the Associated Press on Sunday. Rader, 59, could appear in court as early as Monday to stand in front of a judge on video while prosecutors recite yet to be filed criminal charges against him. Quote, "This guy is telling us about the murders," unquote, the source said on conditions of anonymity. Police spokesman Lorraine Johnson refused to comment on reports that search of Rader's Park City home uncovered a stockpile of Lutheran and Cub Scout literature and paraphernalia. But Assistant District Attorney Nola Fulton was not so reticent. She commented, quote, "Evidence of Christ worship was everywhere in the Rader home. Most disturbing was the discovery of multiple copies of the black-bound Bible. The confusing and violently gruesome text that has united hatred, bloodshed, and human suffering on a global scale for thousands of years," unquote. Fulton could not hide her disgust when she added, quote, "If a serial killer ever wanted a how-to textbook of torture and murder, it's that damned book," unquote. Part of Rader's confession is reported to be his admission that he learned to tie the knots he used to bind the victims in the Cub Scout handbook. As leader of the paramilitary band of underage boys, Rader had unrestricted access to the cult's manual of bondage and animal abuse, as well as a limitless supply of practice rope. Cub Scout ritual uniforms and costumes filled Rader's bedroom closet, include a ceremonial sash displaying the numerous merit badges that most likely tallied the Christ worshippers' litany of innocent victims. Quote, "The vast majority of Adolf Hitler's Nazi party were card-carrying Lutherans. The death and resurrection cult, founded in the 16th century by defrocked priests and outspoken anti-Semite Martin Luther," said Wichita Mayor Nancy Cruz, quote, as were most of the feared SS officers who carried out day-to-day mass murder activities of the Holocaust. "I can't believe that a nest of Lutherans has existed in our town for so many years without attracting the attention of authorities." Oh, did you, I would that I'm only kidding because it's Saturday morning cartoons. Anyway, tomorrow is Palm Sunday. And as every adolescent Cub Scout knows, that's an important holiday. Anyway, until, until tomorrow, if anyone is still listening, uh, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. And do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love's the law, love under will. See you tomorrow.